Okay, hi everybody. Welcome. So good to see you. My name is Destiny. I'm the book club coordinator here at City Bookshop. It's my pleasure to welcome you. I always like to ask, is this anyone's first time at the store? Ooh, woo, okay, welcome. I'm always surprised, honestly, by the answer. I feel like by now, like everybody's been here, but that's not true. So welcome. A few logistical notes. Restrooms are upstairs and past the registers if you need those. We have books for sale upstairs. And if you haven't gotten one already, I'm going to tell you about an incentive in just a second. So you might want to get one. And one other thing I want to flag is if you enjoy romance events, we have a couple more coming up. This Saturday, we have Tracy Livesey and Nikki Payne at 3:30. It's going to be a lot of fun. And then on Tuesday, July 25th at 7:30 virtually, we have Nalini Singh and Scarlett St. Clair, which should be really awesome. Very excited for that. And then on Thursday, August 10th, we have Regina Black for The Art of Scandal. So that's going to be another great romance event. I think I covered everything else. Oh, if you could just silence your cell phones if you haven't already, so that we don't have any interruptions, much appreciated. And so if you are someone who pre-purchased, like to come into the event, you already purchased a book, I've already put your name into a drawing for a UK version of Forget Me Not. So if you bought your book here today and you have your receipt, when we're doing the signing line, I will go ahead and like go through anybody who has their receipt, make sure I add you so that I can add you to the drawing for another version of Forget Me Not. So that should be cool. All right, without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and introduce our conversation partner for today, who is Thien-Kim Lam, who writes stories about Vietnamese characters who smash stereotypes and find their happy endings. A recovering type Asian, she guzzles cafe soda, making art and bakes her feelings to stay sane. I feel like I would go insane trying to bake my feelings. Her debut book, Happy Endings, was a Washington Post romance novel of the year, which I really enjoyed. Her Mardi Gras romance, Full Exposure, is a love letter to her Vietnamese community in Louisiana, and we have copies upstairs and special bookmarks. So it's really cool. Thien-Kim also coaches writers of color and is the founder of The Body Bookworms, a subscription box that pairs sexy romances with toys. She's been featured on Jezebel, Bustle, Entertainment Weekly, and Oprah Daily. Thien-Kim is represented by Tara Gelosimo at One Track Literary. Let's go ahead and welcome Thien-Kim Lam. Woo! Lovely. Oh, I did. I was back there like cafe sudan, practicing. And hello, virtual audience. I did not say hello to you and welcome. So we'll make sure to get your questions as well. Okay, the lady of the hour. Julie Soto is an author, playwright, and actress. Originally from Sacramento, California, her musical Generation Me won the 2017 New York Musical Festival's Best Musical Award, as well as Best Book for her script. She is a musical theater geek, fandom nerd, and the author of many spicy fan fictions. Julie now lives in Fort Bragg, California with her dog Charlie. I first read Forget Me Not a few months ago when the preview copies were made available to booksellers and book reviewers. There was humor, there was outrage, there were sexy times, and so much thinly veiled pining. I really wanted to like reach my hand in the book and shake the characters. I loved how Julie used time jumps to show where both Emma and Elliot were in the relationship. Overall, I thought it was a fantastic summer romance that's just as hot as the weather outside. Please join me in welcoming Julie Soto.
On. Thank you. Thank you.
Yay!
Yay.
All right, let's get started. Julie and I have been talking for like an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Texting like crazy. So I feel like we're like good friends already.
Yeah, we'll just bring you into the conversation now, basically.
As you can see, I had a great time reading Julie's book. I even color coded my tabs to match the cover. So let's start. For those who haven't read your book yet, can you just, in your own words, just tell everybody a little bit about it?
Yeah. So Forget Me Not is about a young up and coming wedding planner named Emma who gets the opportunity to work on the wedding of a lifetime. It's a celebrity wedding. The only catch is that the couple has already decided on the florist, and it is her ex, Elliot. So they have to work together and pretend they never had a relationship. It's a bit of a persuasion retelling, if you know Persuasion by Jane Austen. And yeah, so it's Grumpy Sunshine, second chance romance, and all those delicious things.
It is delicious. Can you share a little bit about your inspiration behind the book? Why did you go for a wedding planner and a florist?
Yeah. So I come from fandom. I come from fan fiction. I'm in the Harry Potter fan fiction community and the Star Wars fan fiction community. I love my girlies being like, "Mhm, yes, you are." So in fandom, there is this great kind of like community of like ideas and just like pitching things to each other and hoping someone writes it, things like that. So there's this great friend of mine on Twitter called Fran. Her handle is Galactic Idiots. Please follow her. She's funny. If you see any Jane Austen tweets making their way to Instagram as memes, they're probably by her. So she pitched a couple years ago. She was like, well, what about a florist and a wedding planner who have to work together? And I started writing it as a fan fiction. I like wrote like half a chapter before realizing like this actually might have more legs if I wanted to try to get into traditional publishing. So I got her blessing to to keep moving forward with it. So in terms of like why a wedding planner and why a florist, I am interested in neither of those things. And I had to do a lot of research on them both. But it was definitely just something that just kind of wouldn't let go of me. And I needed to play with it.
Okay, so that goes great with the next question. So
I did great.
I DIY'd my wedding, which is rule number 2: don't DIY weddings, right? That was Alma's rule.
Yeah.
So tell me more about the research. Like, did you, sneak into weddings or like, get friendly with a florist somewhere? I mean, like really friendly?
Not that friendly, but like, yeah. I had basically, I've been to a lot of weddings. I'm almost at like 27 dresses status for like being a bridesmaid. So I have been to a lot of friends' weddings who had different types of weddings, different cities, different locations. And I kind of just drew on that. And a lot of the couples named in the book are the names of couples who had me be a bridesmaid in their wedding. So it's little things like that. I showed my my friend Ginny, like Ginny Weasley, Ginny and Dustin, you will find in the book. I flipped the page open to her on Sunday when I showed it to her, and she just burst into tears crying. So I definitely a lot of being at weddings, being a part of weddings, but I just basically planned a wedding on Pinterest. Like I was
going to ask you if you had a Pinterest board.
You just go to Pinterest. Yeah, I have it. I think I need to link it in my bio. I'll do all that stuff this week. And I also have like a Sacramento map, like where everything is. I just want to like get everything available, the resources.
All the bonus stuff. You got to go to her website for that
stuff. Yeah. So, and then I have a friend who used to be a wedding assistant or a wedding planner's assistant. And I kind of like cross-checked with her, like, okay, what are some like reasons why you would have to see someone again if they're your vendor, like if everything's set, 9 months to 6 months out. And so she helped me come up with a lot of the little problems that come up. And then on top of it, I have 2 friends who work in flower shops. So I was able to kind of just pick their brains a bit and get an idea if like things I were saying are these novel ideas or are they run-of-the-mill wedding ideas? And sometimes they're like, that's been around since 2015. I'm like, well, it was new to me, so I thought it was cool.
Well, I didn't go Google anything and say, oh, you cannot put these 2 flowers together. So I think you're safe.
Heaven forbid. Yeah.
Just a reminder, we'll be taking questions afterwards. So, as they come up to you, just hang on to them and we'll make sure to ask Julie all the things. All right. So one thing that I love reading this, and I'm slow because I didn't realize it till about a third of the way through, but all the flashback scenes are written in Elliot's point of view.
Yeah.
And then all the present day scenes are written in Emma's point of view.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, you're crazy for doing that as a writer, because I have a hard time keeping up with my timeline, and you have like dates, months, and years in here.
Oh yeah. I have a calendar. I have like
Yeah.
a full calendar, like chapter 3 happened on this date in 2018.
I tried that. I tried that. My copy editor was like, "This doesn't happen this soon." I'm like, "Oh,
Yeah, my copy editor caught some errors, but it was so funny because I was so confident in that calendar. My copy editor's like, "You say it took 4 months, but it's actually this date." I'm like, "You're going to be wrong. I can't wait to prove you wrong." And I was like, "I was wrong. Oh my God." I worked
they're
so hard
always-
on that
the
thing.
copy editor is always right, and you're like,
Yeah.
"Oh."
They're masters.
But
They're masterful.
Thank goodness they're there to
Yeah.
keep us on our toes and
Yeah.
get things right for us. So tell me, like, what was your thought process in making this decision, writing the different point of views with
Yeah.
different timelines?
Yeah, I'm actually more comfortable doing one point of view because I don't want to lose the narrative tension. Like if you know exactly what the other person is thinking, sometimes I find it hard to write and keep it a surprise for the audience or keep the audience wondering how things are going to happen. I know that some people do it really masterfully. But that's just my thing. I'm always afraid that I'm going to give away the narrative tension. So when I kind of figured out that like, okay, Elliot is such a grump and he is, I feel like he could be possibly very unlikable if if you didn't have his POV chapters at all. Like it's like, who is this guy? I know he's on the cover, so I guess they end up together. Like I don't really like it. So when I wanted to show some of their relationship in the past, I thought it would be a good option to kind of give those chapters to Elliot so that you're not giving away all the narrative tension in the present. You don't really know what he's thinking in the present, but because you have the past chapters, you kind of do. And so I was very blessed that came to me, that decision came to me writing the first draft. Because I could see that being a terrible thing to have to go through later down the line.
Yeah, that sounds like a nightmare to have to go
Yeah.
back and make sure everything is right.
No,
but
thank
I
you.
thought the way you tied up the two timelines was beautiful.
Thank
so
you.
no spoilers. but
No
it's definitely
spoilers.
A good payoff. Earlier you mentioned that you based some of the couples in your book off your friends. So
Mhm.
I adored the queer representation between
Yeah.
Hazel Renee and Jackie Nguyen.
Mhm.
Can tell me more about them and if you based them off of anybody and why did you
Yeah.
want to go with a celebrity?
Not specific. I didn't base them off anyone specific. I just really I didn't want, I knew that Emma was has a thing about getting too close with her clients. And what I didn't want was for people to think we were going to take a wedding planner with J-Lo plot line where she's too close to the clients and it's going to get her in trouble with the groom. I just didn't want that to be a plot line, that there was going to be a groom who takes an interest in her and ruins the wedding. And I wanted to remove it from the table. So I really like the idea of having two brides and the possibility of, possibly two women who have dreamed about their wedding day. And then you have to kind of reconcile those two ideas. But I just wanted to I wanted to see what I've seen in my life, which is an absolute normalcy of queer weddings. And I think that's what I wanted. And I, we weren't going to go through like, this baker won't make their cake. We weren't going to go through those steps. I just wanted to make it a normal wedding because it is.
They were such a cute couple. I was
Yeah.
rooting for them, and I had a small wedding, so I think to live vicariously through them and plan this wedding with unlimited budget, it felt like.
Yeah. Well, hey, in fiction it is.
That's right.
Yeah, and as far as your question about celebrity, it was just about stakes, having different, when you have so many different eyes on something, it becomes more and more pressure to get it right. And it influences the type of people that you're building a wedding for. And so I really like that.
Okay, so I really laugh out loud when I read a book, and there's several instances in here that I laugh out loud. But I'm gonna read one of the scenes that um I I feel like this line attacked me a little bit. So I'm gonna read it and see who else feels the same way, and then we'll talk about it.
Okay.
This is from Elliot's point of view, and it says, "If I'm going to commit anywhere from 1 to 8 hours of my day to a new hobby, I'm not gonna make an ass of myself." As a serial hobbyist,
Yes.
I have a lot of unfinished objects.
Yeah.
So tell me about, do you have hobbies that you are like super committed to, and then hobbies you tried and they didn't work out?
I have no hobbies. I am so boring. No, I well, that I'm a bit like Elliot. Like, a lot of my friends got into knitting at the same time, and I'm like, that would be so nice to have a hobby that keeps your hands busy, while your brain can do something else, but at the same time, at the end of it, you've created something, right? And then I was like, I can't commit 1 to 8 hours a day to learning how to knit, because it's going to make me really angry to have ugly things that I'm making for those 8 hours for the first like week or two. So I'm a bit like Elliot, where it's like, if I'm going to pick up a new hobby, I'm going to like research the hell out of it. I'm going to make it right. And his new hobby he's talking about is like social media in general. Like, like he's like, I hate Instagram. I hate social media. If I'm going to be on social media, I'm going to do it right. And so I feel like my hobbies, I have relaxation stuff. I play The Sims nonstop.
That's a hobby.
That's a hobby. I have families at the end of it, so I do create something. I have mansions. So I do more like relaxation hobbies, which I don't call hobbies because it's like guilty pleasure stuff. I still have to get out of that mindset.
I don't believe
you
in
know?
guilty pleasures.
No.
Everything is a pleasure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who's guilty about what? Yeah. I'm going to text you the next time. I'm like, I would like to play The Sims for 8 hours. Please tell me it's okay.
It is okay. So I played The Sims when they first came out.
Yeah.
And I'm terrible. I put them all in a room, gave
Mhm.
them fireworks, and then took away the door
Fireworks.
to see how long it would take for them to die.
Oh my God. I would like, this is almost darker, but when you get them to swim in the pool and then you remove
I
the
did
pool
that
ladder.
too.
Yeah.
Or I would like so I made my character after me and my husband,
Yeah.
my then boyfriend, and they hated each other because he never put the toilet seat down.
Oh, I love it. Oh, I love it.
And then I bought myself an espresso machine so I could like do all the things. I'm like, why am I trying to live my life?
Yeah. I have
Nonsense.
I made my recently within the past year, I made my sim, a best-selling author. I I got her all the way up the career ladder, and then I got her this beautiful house, and we earned this together, right? And then I got her this little writing nook, perfect with the laptop and the books, and just, oh, it was beautiful. And there was some kind of glitch going on the computer. Girl would not sit down and write a book. And I was like, you are calling
that's
me
accurate.
out. Like,
That's
I'm
accurate.
literally sitting here not writing a book. And I'm like, write the book. Like I was like, I had to like use cheats to figure out how to make her write a book and send it off. It was so obnoxious.
Wow. It's like when my kids walk into my office, Mom, you're on Facebook again. Shouldn't you be writing? Like, oh, I'm your mother.
Yeah. I'll do what I want. Yeah, that was me with The Sims. The Sims were like, or you could go write your book.
Obviously, the answer is Sims.
Maybe you could be the author in this situation, Julie.
So social media plays a huge part in your book.
Mhm.
So I kind of avoid writing social media in my books because it changes so quickly.
Yeah.
Was it like a non-negotiable for you to include a lot of social media in it?
I think so. I think my characters, when I decided I wanted a celebrity, generally that comes with a level of social media, especially because I wanted her to be more of a makeup influencer, someone who does makeup tutorials, and so she's going to be well versed in everything. But yeah, I think both of my main characters were running small businesses. So I think the idea, and Emma's very proficient at social media, and Elliot says that he hates it. And I think that's, two sides of it in a way. But yeah, you're right. It's kind of like it's a gamble for sure to see where we change. And, what's the first book that's going to have threads in it,
Not mine.
not mine. Yeah. I haven't even signed
Someone
up
else can
yet.
do that.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we're going to talk about one of my favorite topics when it comes to romances, the spice.
Dad, close your ears.
Where's Dad? All right. There's a lot of spice in this book, with which no complaints from me.
Yeah.
And there's so many creative locations.
Yes.
Were you like, did you have a checklist so you didn't repeat yourself?
Apparently, someone tagged me in a trope list, and one of them said only one bed, but not in the way you know it. And I was like, yeah, there is only one bed in this book. We only use a bed once.
Like, did they actually do it in a bed?
Yeah. Yeah. They're I don't know. I feel like I was probably trying to not write the same scene, as you do. You try to find different ways to, what am I showing in this scene? What am I and I went wild with it, I guess. I just
And we appreciate
where
it.
else can we be? Yeah.
I love writing sex scenes. I like reading them too. So
Yeah.
Now, would you say that the spice level in Forget Me Not is more or less spicy than your fan fiction?
I know. The fanfic girlies are like, oh.
I haven't read your fanfic, so I don't know.
Right. I have some fanfics that are spicier and some that are probably around the same, but also some of my fan fictions are like 3 times as long as this book. So like then you're like, well, mathematically we need 3 times as many sex scenes. It's just science. So I'd say like I'd say it's almost about even with fanfic, keeping in mind that like when you triple the word count there. But then there's some fan fictions that are like spice forward. So I have a fanfic that's probably like 4 or 5 chili peppers. And then I've been told this is 2 chili peppers. And I'm like, I almost feel insulted, but like that's you guys. You guys are reading some 5 chili peppers, and more power to you. I don't even know what that looks like. Good
I feel like
for
5
you.
includes like kink.
Yeah. More. It
More.
has to be more than that.
I mean, I'm in some Facebook groups and I'm like, wow,
Yeah.
I'm boring.
I know. What am I writing? God.
And I sell sex toys. I'm like, so is your approach to writing the spicy parts different for traditional publishing versus your fan fiction?
Yeah, a little bit. I'd say that sometimes with fanfic, even just the difference between fanfic and traditional publishing is like when you click on a fan fiction, and if you don't know what fan fiction is basically any writing done by a fan of an IP content. Like it's not your like Game of Thrones fan fiction. You rewrite the ending, that type of thing, right? Yeah, and everyone's like, where can I click that? So it's like you make no profit off of it. You're doing it for a community, for yourself. So with fanfic, when you click on a story, you click on it because you already believe Draco and Hermione belong together, right? Like
I can see all the what do you guys what do they call them? Hermione fans.
Yes.
Yeah.
But like that's why you click on something, whereas you pick up a book to fall in love at the same time as the character. Like you don't already believe in these people. So like I feel like in terms of like writing the spice, it becomes a little bit more of like, well, let's earn it, or there's like something, maybe you'll notice it now that I say it, or maybe you already know it, but like the 60% mark is like generally about where the spice comes in contemporary romances. Sometimes
That's late.
I know.
Give it to me early. Actually, my current book, I'm like, can I sneak a scene in like at the 10% mark?
I know. Well, and then that fan fiction will sneak the scenes in at the 10% mark, because it's like, we've done the work. The TV series already exists. That work's been done. The first 50%'s done. So it's like, I feel like that's kind of the difference in a way. And, there are some things that like are more common in fan fiction than are common in traditional publishing, but also fan fiction is great because you it relies on tagging. So like if you don't like something, you can filter out that
Right,
thing.
like tropes and things like that.
Whereas
Yeah.
like traditional publishing, anyone can just say, I like this cover, and then go home and be affected by it negatively, or just want to scream how much they hated it online. So it's like,
we don't care about those people.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
No.
They're very loud.
You're welcome to talk about your books, our books, however you want, just don't tag me.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay, so of all the characters in your book, not counting Emma and Elliot, who would you want people to write fan fiction about?
Oh my God. I would love to see Jackie and Hazel's origin stories. That is very fun. They're the couple who gets married. I would love to see more about Mar, my girly,
her stepsister.
Yeah. She's the best friend character. Yeah, I have like ideas for what happens to Mar next, and maybe someday we see that. But like I'd love to see what everyone else has too.
I love a sassy
and then I'll
best friend
steal
character.
it and publish it. It'll be great. The scandal of the century, you guys.
Just make sure you tag it properly.
Yeah, just tag it properly.
Okay, so I adore Grumpy Sunshine. Elliot, like he would say things and I just cracked up because like, I know you're a softie deep down.
Yeah.
You're trying to be tough. So what are some of your other favorite romance tropes to read and then to write?
Yeah. Love Grumpy Sunshine. I love Enemies to Lovers. It's actually such a broad one because I feel like it just encapsulates like opposites attract. Like you can still be friends to lovers and have an opposites attract type of relationship. So I appreciate opposites attract in that way, but true enemies to lovers, like actually like life or death situation. Love that. I love what is it? Fated mates and like star-crossed type stuff where they don't know that they belong together, or one person knows they belong together. And then I love a really good arranged marriage situation, especially when it's like in contemporary and you find out how to do it like how to make it a must.
You don't see that in contemporary very often.
I'm trying to think. There was one that like almost slid into that idea, and I forgot. I've read it recently, or I heard about it recently, and I forget. But it was like,
I'm sure somebody out in the audience.
Yeah, like
can name a
contemporary
bunch.
arranged marriage, wild. Yeah. But yeah, and then I write enemies to lovers, and yeah, it's always enemies to lovers. It's just I personally don't like writing friends to lovers because sometimes you lack some of that tension or that opposites attract energy. But I'll read it. Like obviously there's some excellent friends to lovers out there.
I'm running one now and it's hard.
Yeah.
Hard.
Friends to lovers.
I'm like, why can't you do it already?
Yeah. Get over yourselves. It's been 20 years.
So which character in Forget Me Not is most like you?
Elliot.
That was not the answer I was expecting. And you were so fast with that response.
I am clearly very sexy and you should all be attracted to me. But yeah, his internal monologue that kind of makes him a grump, or maybe humanizes the grumpiness. That's my always internal monologue. So that was very nice to like, it's like the thing that you want to say in a certain situation, but you socially can't. He's thinking it, same thing. So that's definitely Elliot.
Okay, and least like you.
Hazel. One of the brides.
Okay.
I'm like, I could explain a bunch more, but like
I don't want to give any spoilers.
Yeah, right.
Okay, and then I'll ask that later.
Can we take a look at her earrings, by the way?
Oh,
and
Pokemon.
The flower, everything.
I'm a
is
late bloomer
fabulous.
to the Pokemon through my kids.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Never too late.
That's right. If you're in Pokemon Go, let's be friends.
Yeah.
Hit me up afterwards.
I was doing it for a while, and then like just the lack of service places. It's like, why am I even on a walk right now? Yeah.
You walk? No.
Yeah. No, I just wait for them to come to me. Yeah.
There's the Pokestop outside of my apartment. I don't have to do anything.
See, that's the thing. I would have to walk to a Pokestop.
See,
And I was like, this is fun.
I get addicted to video games, so I have to pick games that I can only play so much at a time, and it forces me to stop.
That's good.
Like I run out of Pokemon.
The Sims, that is not the case.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Because I used to like hide in the bathroom for my kids and play Candy Crush.
Mm-hmm.
And then like if I use another device, I get 5 more lives.
I love it.
Also not conducive to writing.
Yeah, right. Use another device. That's wild.
Well, you got
I know exactly what you mean. I'm like, oh God, I'm gonna start trying this.
I have to go cold turkey.
Yeah.
Okay. We're gonna do Q&A in just a little bit, but can you tell us now that you're allowed to about your next book?
Yes, book 2 is coming. It is book 2 is called Not Another Love Song. And if you were one of my Raylo fan fiction girlies, then you will recognize it. But it is about a violinist and a cellist in an orchestra. And basically, I haven't gotten like the elevator pitch down for it yet, so don't mind me as I ramble. But it's enemies to lovers, and I was watching an orchestra, and if you know how the orchestra is situated, it's like that half circle around the conductor, right? And the 2 people closest to the audience in the front row are the section leaders. So you have the first violinist, the first cellist. And the thing is that because of how they're situated around the conductor, they're staring at each other the entire show. And I was watching these 2 people who perfectly attractive people, but I was not like those 2. But I was watching these 2 people and I was like, oh, that would suck. Oh, that would suck so much to either be attracted to that person or to hate that person. Or both, which is the case. Yeah. And so that's kind of why I wanted to write it. So that is slated right now for July 2024.
Yay! Awesome. Yeah. Hopefully you'll come back here.
Yes, I have to
sign more copies of.
Absolutely. We have to bring the people to destiny.
Right.
Yeah.
So we're going to open the floor for Q&A. Oh my gosh.
There it is. We did indeed see him in Forget Me Not.
For the people at home.
Hello, people at home. Yes.
Is the cellist someone we saw in Forget Me Not, which I kind of know who you're talking about.
Yes, there is we did see one of the main characters in Forget Me Not. So yes, is the answer.
Like a cameo.
Yeah, it's like a cameo. It's a backdoor pilot, as they used to say.
Any other questions? Right here.
Yeah. So the question was like, was there a struggle making the transition from fan fiction to traditional publishing on the part of like the publisher? Like, was that made difficult at all? And I would say 5 years ago, there would be an absolutely different answer. But I think the beloved Allie Hazelwood has like blown open a lot of doors where people are like, oh, fan fiction must be good. Like, I feel like there's definitely still a stigma against fan fiction. But I think it's becoming more and more acceptable and people are talking about it more too. And so many authors wrote fan fiction or still write fan fiction and either don't talk about that or just used to talk about it 10 years ago, and it's like they're able to talk about it a little bit more now, which is really nice. For me personally, I didn't have any problems with it because I was trying to sell the book after Allie Hazelwood blew up, which is fabulous, but actually my agent and one of my editors had read my fan fiction. And like one of them, my editor, just so happened to like think to herself, I wonder what Loves Bitka 8 is up to right now. And like went to my Twitter profile and saw that I was represented by a literary agent. and it just like all was just this like beautiful, and she had to read it obviously and like it, but it was like I would never have had that editor in the UK if she hadn't just had a spark of, I wonder what's new, over there.
Right. And traditional publishing, like they want to sell books. So I mean, I'm seeing more and more of it now, but I mean, it's always been there. There's the book that should not be named.
Mm-hmm.
50 Shades.
Yeah.
And but publishers want you to have an audience, right? So
Yeah.
they can sell the book. So you're just seeing more of them embrace that now.
Yeah. It was helpful that I could say like, I have like such and such amount of followers. I don't know what that means, but like they could see some statistics to say like, well, maybe she'll sell books, which is really nice. There's
The question is, what was the inspiration for the coffee table in the book?
Nothing specific, but I do like incorporating furniture in comedic ways.
In spicy ways.
In spicy ways. So I think it was kind of the it's like just a little shout out to other ways that I've incorporated furniture.
I'm sorry. It's just funny because people are like, oh, I put food in my book. I'm like, I put furniture in my book.
I put furniture. IKEA is a prominent factor.
I like IKEA.
Yeah.
I mean, I have kids who destroy stuff, so
exactly.
it works out.
Get the mom.
In the back?
Yeah.
And also how is it different, like the fan fiction, like as long as stories, like having to keep it to a traditional publishing.
Yeah. So do you want to?
Yeah. So I think the gist of the question is, how is writing fan fiction and collaborating with people in fan fiction different than the traditional publishing process?
Yeah.
Did I get that right?
Essentially, okay. Yeah. So yeah, in fan fiction, you would have like, I think it's a common term in publishing too, but beta readers, someone who is like your editor in a way, who's kind of reading it for whatever you choose that you want them to, is it just typos? Do you want to look at, small minutia, or and then there's like an alpha reader who is like, just a phrase of like, you are the overarching story reader. I think working with my fan fiction betas has definitely prepared me for working with editors, because you start to become a little less precious about things too. And also, I think almost more so, my work in theater was really the help, because you're giving a lot of rejection and a lot of like, you can't take it personally, but I personally dislike you, like you come into an audition room and the answer is no. So it's like, you get a lot of prep for that. But I would say that working with the editors at a publishing house, it's, like when you're working in fan fiction, sometimes generally it's like friends of yours or people who are, I would almost say like same playing field, like you're reading their stuff, they're reading your stuff. But with publishing, I definitely trusted my fan fiction editors, but there's a lot of trust and belief in the trad pub editors, because this is their job. Someone does pay them to do it. Someone does want them to sell books. So that was kind of a little bit different in that way, that like I almost wouldn't fight back as much against my traditional publishing editors, because I was like, oh, you see something that I don't, and you read more in this genre if you call traditional publishing romance a genre and fan fiction its own genre. So yeah, I'd say it definitely helped prepare me, but it was different in that way. And you had a part two. I forget what was like the length. Yeah. And like the second part of the question was like, and also like fan fiction, you don't have to stick to a length. So what was, what's that like? And I feel like I left out that I wrote it knowing that like, okay, the middle of the book should be about at 40,000 words. And like I was hitting around 40,000 words when I was at the middle point of the book. I think it's definitely harder for fan fiction authors to get their ideas in under 100,000 words. But for me, I actually was on the low end. And like, if you're one of my fan fiction readers, some of my like 10 chapter, 11 chapter fics like clock in at like 50,000 words, 60,000 words. So like those are closer to like novella novel length. So it was almost like taking one of those and adding a subplot to throw 20 more thousand words into it type thing. I was almost the opposite. I was like getting myself to stretch it into 84,000 words or whatever it came out to be.
And so I look at my editor like a partner. Like she
Yeah.
wants me to write the best book I can. And so it's not like we're tugging back. Like you find the right fit, right?
Mm-hmm.
They see your vision and then they will say, well, maybe you could do this a little bit more or pull back over here because it's distracting from the story that you want to tell. So that's
Yeah.
how I feel. Or when I get stuck, I'll be like, I don't know what to do with this section. And then they'll read the whole thing because they're looking at it in a new way, right? Because you've been staring at it for so long.
Yeah.
And then so that's how I see my partnership with my editor. I mean,
Mhm.
I don't write fan fiction, so I don't have experience in that part.
It's yeah, it's similar, but yeah, it's a partnership.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Any more questions? I thought I saw another hand earlier. Oh, yes.
Yeah, some from the virtual audience.
Virtual audience questions. Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I did have to cut some. Okay. So the questions were just like expanding more on the transition from fan fiction to trad pub, and then also did I have to do any cuts? Was there any spice cut? And there was like a full sex scene got trimmed into a half a sex scene, if that makes sense.
It's gotta feed the
Ooh.
story, you guys. I know
Yeah.
it just hurts to
Yeah.
cut those scenes.
And actually that was my agent who was like I feel like this doesn't, I feel like, like she was like, just want to, I want the sex scenes to like inform the plot. And I'm like, they do. So that like that got taken out before even going to editors, but I was really pleased that Forever like didn't want me to trim it back or anything. I think having more than 2 sex scenes per book is becoming more and more common in specific types of contemporary romances. So I'm very glad of that. But and then the differences between fan fiction and traditional publishing, honestly, it's one of the biggest things for anyone who currently writes fic and is like looking to make the transition, just consider like I would say like resign yourself to the fact that you have to add 3 chapters to the beginning of your fic. Like maybe chapter 1 stays the same and you add a brand new 2, 3, 4, but like you will always have to add 2, 3 more chapters than you think you need. So like write the book the way you want to write it, and then just know you did not introduce the characters enough. Because like we already know that Draco and Hermione went to Hogwarts together. Like I'm not going to go into that detail, so you have to get into like why Ben Solo is the way he is. Like, why did he kill his father? You have to get into these things. Margaret has,
but you can make it fun. So like,
yeah,
you can incorporate that into the story. Don't feel like you're like you have to go back and
oh no,
explain.
it's not like info dumping.
Their
necessarily.
backstory is.
Yeah, it's almost like whatever your first like 1 to 2 chapters are, you just might need to pad that into 5. Create like take it and stretch it, and that's what I found with Another Love Song, which was a fan fiction. Is that like chapter 4 is now chapter 8. Like it's it's just a lot was added at the top. So that was one of the big differences, is just getting used to the reader has to want to root for these characters and get to know them quicker. Yeah.
Any other questions?
My brother, Charlie Soto, who is a Bichon Poodle, just typed into the chat. Thank you, Charlie. There are no dogs in the first 2 books so far, but we're going to change
But
that.
there's a cat. I'm a cat
Yes.
person, so there's a cat.
Yes, there's a cat.
Lady Catherine of
Lady Catherine de Perg is the cat in Forget Me Not. And then they live in New York in book 2, so it's a little hard to I think too much about why are you out all night? What happened to the dog? So it's just too much for me to think about to give them animals.
Yeah, cats are more independent.
Yeah.
So you don't have to deal with
Yeah.
So our time is about done, but before we close, is there anything else you want to add or share with the audience?
Thank you. I don't think so. Thank you so much for being here.
And I think we're gonna Destiny and the team are gonna rearrange the room. So go do some shopping and then come back and we'll sign books.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Huge round of applause for both. Oh, come on. Yeah, give it up. So as Thien-Kim just said, we obviously have books on sale. It is a bookstore. We're just going to take 5 minutes to, get things squared away for the signing line. If you could help us by folding your chair and just putting it to the side, that would help immensely. And also, if you're someone who bought a book while you were here, as we line up for signing, I'm just going to come and get your info to make the drawing happen. Thank you. Bye-bye.